Hello, children, and welcome to a new chapter in history, lesson 11, the Gupta period. In this chapter, we are going to learn about the Gupta dynasty, its rulers, their achievements during this era. After the decline of the Mauryan Empire, there were two political empires, which were the Satavahanas and the Kushana Empire, which emerged as two important political powers in India. The Empire of Guptas. Once the Mauryan Empire declined, the Satavahanas came to the power in the southern region, and the Kushanas came to the power in the northern region. But towards the middle of the 3rd century AD, both these empires came to an end, and this gave birth to a new empire, which was the Gupta Empire that arose from the ruins of the Kushana Empire. So after the Mauryan Empire, it was the Gupta Empire, which was the second most powerful empire in ancient India. This empire kept northern India politically united. It did not allow many invaders to enter during their reign. Most of the information that we get about the Gupta dynasty is from Prashastis. So what is a Prashasti? Prashasti is a special kind of inscription, means in praise of. So most of the Prashastis that existed tells the praises about the kings that ruled at that time. One important source is Allahabad pillar inscription. It praises the military achievements of Samudragupta, who was the most powerful warrior king of the Gupta dynasty. The Allahabad pillar inscription was composed by Harisena. Harisena was the court poet of Samudragupta's time. This Prashasti gives a long list of rulers which Samudragupta defeated with names of their territories, and it also praises him that he was a great poet, a great conqueror, and a talented musician. With the help of these Prashastis, some literary and some archaeological facts, we can talk about the Gupta dynasty, how the people lived there, how the administration was carried out. Now let's see the literary sources of Gupta period. These are the writings by famous writers like Kalidasa and accounts of foreign travelers like Faheen and Itsing. Apart from these literary and archaeological sources, we also gain information about Guptas from Ajanta paintings and from large number of gold coins produced during Gupta period. So based on the kind of inscriptions, we can tell what kind of status people had that time. And paintings also depict a lot about the people's state of mind and the environment in which they lived in. Now let us learn about some significant rulers of the Gupta Empire. So the first ruler was Chandragupta, the one who ruled from 320 AD to 335 AD and conquered the northeastern states. The founder of the Gupta dynasty was Sri Gupta, and his son Chandragupta I made the dynasty powerful. He made Pataliputra as his capital city. His kingdom extended from Magad to Prayag, which is today's Allahabad. The regions he brought under his control was Ayodhya, Bihar, and the fertile plains of Uttar Pradesh. This prosperity enabled him to establish a powerful kingdom because natural resources there were very, very rich. He further strengthened his political position by marrying a Lichavi princess. He took the title of Maharaja Dhiraj, means Kings of Kings. The second most important ruler of Gupta dynasty was Samudragupta, who came to power between 335 AD and he ruled till 380 AD. Samudragupta was the son of Chandragupta I and he helped in extending the Gupta Empire further. His court poet Harisena wrote all about his achievements in the Ashoka pillar at Allahabad, which is known as Prayag Prashasti. The Prayag Prashasti describes the achievements of King Samudragupta. He has mentioned about Samudragupta's victory over 5 kinds of kingdoms. First, he has described his conquest over the rulers of Ganga Yamuna Valley, and he took over the rulers of Aryavarta, which is the region of today's Delhi and western Uttar Pradesh. He tells that how Samudragupta gained control over eastern India, which includes the frontier states of Assam, Nepal, coastal Bengal, and all these rulers have to accept his lordship. He did not take complete control over them. He let the rulers rule, but he told that those rulers will have to attend his court and they would be his subordinates and they will have to pay him annual tributes. He also took control over the 12 rulers of the Deccan, who were known as the rulers of Dakshinapat. These rulers surrendered to Samudragupta after being defeated. But he again allowed them to rule and made them pay an annual tribute. This shows that Samudragupta was a wise person. He then went on to defeat the forest kingdom, which was situated in the Vindhya region, and brought it under the control of Gupta kingdom. Finally, the descendants of the Kushanas and the Shakas who were ruling Afghanistan and Sri Lanka also surrendered to him and offered their daughters for marriage. According to the Ashokan pillar, Samudragupta never knew defeat because he was so ambitious and brave that he was known as Napoleon of India, because he never even once lost a war. So these were some of the great achievements of Samudragupta, which were written in Prayag Prashasti by his court poet Harisena. After Samudragupta, his son Ramagupta succeeded him. But unfortunately, Ramagupta was captured by the Shakas king back then. And because of this, his brother Chandragupta II took over the reign, that means the rule. Chandragupta II went on and defeated the Shakas, and he took the title of Vikramaditya. He ruled between 380 AD and 413 AD. During his reign, the Guptas attained the highest power and prosperity. So, he is considered as one of the most significant Gupta king. He inherited a very vast kingdom and defeated the Shakas of the Western Malwa and Gujarat and took control over those areas. He acquired control over 3 prosperous ports of Western India, which was Broj, Cambay and Sopara. He made Ujjain as second capital after Patliputra, and he became a great patron of art and literature. His court had many great scholars and poets, and Kalidasa was one of them. It was during his time that the Chinese pilgrim Fa Hien visited India and gave a detailed account of the life of the people in his kingdom. Now children, let's talk about the system of administration of the Gupta Empire. The Guptas were all powerful and gained titles like Parameshwara and Maharaja Dhiraja. Chandragupta I was the first to adopt the title of Maharaja Dhiraja. The kings maintained a standing army which was supplemented by the forces provided by the feudal lords. The Guptas divided their empire into provinces, districts, and villages as it became easy for them to rule. They were very wise to give power to officials of provinces and districts. Thus, there was decentralization of power. It becomes difficult to rule such a vast empire. So, decentralization of powers helped the rulers a lot. In villages, a village headman became powerful during the Gupta period and he managed all the village affairs. For administration, the Guptas involved important local citizens. This also helped them to involve local people in their governance, which kept many people happy. There were a lot of important military officials called Senapati, Mahasenapati, and Mahabaladhikrita who came into existence during the Gupta period. There were also certain officials called Samantas acting as an intermediates. So these Samantas acted as intermediates between the king and peasants, means farmers, and also collected revenue. They also maintain soldiers and horses and provide equipment for warfare, that means during the war. There were also some important posts which were hereditary. For example, if we see the court poet Harisena, he had a post of Mahadandanayaka and also he was a poet. Mahadandanayaka means Chief Judicial Officer, and this post he inherited from his father. There were few people in the court who took up many roles. Sometimes many officers came under one person, that means they would take up the post of Samanta as well as Mahadandanayaka. So multiple functions were performed by one single person. So this was about the administration of the Gupta period. Now, how was the life in the Gupta age? We know a lot about the political, social and economic life. And the main source of information to know about the political, social and economic life of the Guptas is the account of Fahim. He informed us that the cities were prosperous and many rich people lived in the cities. He spent 6 years in the Gupta Empire and says that there was peace and prosperity in the entire kingdom and the people were very happy and contented. Religion. The Gupta rulers patronized Hinduism and they worshipped Vishnu and Shiva. They gave donations for construction of temples, but they followed a policy of religious tolerance towards other religion. They encouraged the religion Buddhism and Jainism. The Bhakti movements, that is the selfless devotion towards gods and goddesses, also began during the Gupta period. Art and architecture. The Gupta period was known as the golden age of ancient India. This may not be just in terms of prosperity, but in the field of art, especially literature. The Gupta age was definitely a golden age. Both Chandragupta as well as Chandragupta II were patrons of literature. Samudragupta was represented on his coins playing veena. Chandragupta had Navratnas, that is 9 gems, or advisors in his court, of which Kalidasa was one. Even architecture flourished during the Gupta period, as many temples were built. A few examples are the Dasavatara temple at Diogar in Jhansi and Bhittargaon temple near Kanpur. Even beautiful images of Buddha were made at Sarnath and Mathura. A 2-meter high bronze Buddha statue was discovered, which is archaeologically to be said from the times of Gupta period. The Ajanta paintings is another greatest specimen of Buddhist art that depicts various life events of Buddha. These paintings were extremely lively and natural, and even their color hasn't faded after so many centuries. Literature. Rich literature existed during the Guptas. Excellent poems and dramas were composed in Sanskrit. The world famous Kalidasa adorned the court of Chandragupta II. Some of his famous works are Meghadutam, Raghuvamsha, Abhigyana Shakuntalam. Out of this, Abhigyana Shakuntalam is considered as one of the best 100 literary works of the world. It was one of the earliest Indian writing which was translated in European language. Science and technology. There were two very noted mathematicians and astronomers during the Gupta period who were Aryabhat and Varahamihira. Now children, when we see Aryabhat achievements, he was the one who pronounced that the earth revolves around the sun and the earth moves on its axis on the basis of his mathematical calculations. He also discovered the cause for solar and lunar eclipse. He calculated the position of the planets. He knew about the decimal system, and because of him, the concept of zero is known today. He also wrote a book on mathematics and astronomy, which is called as Aryabhatiyam. So these were some of the achievements of Aryabhat. Now let's see some achievements of Varahamihira. Varahamihira was a famous astronomer and he wrote the book Brihat Samhita. He stated that the moon revolves round the earth and the earth revolves around the sun. Due to all these excellent achievements in the field of art, architecture, science, and mathematics, the Gupta period is known as the golden age of ancient India. Fall of the empire. In spite of all these achievements, even the Gupta Empire took a fall. When we talk about the fall of the empire, we see that Chandragupta II was succeeded by his son Kumaragupta, who in turn was succeeded by his son Skandagupta. Now, during the rule of Skandagupta, the Gupta Empire faced the threat of Huna invasions. Hunas were excellent horsemen and archers. So, Skandagupta and his successors found it very difficult to withstand them. While the Gupta rulers lingered on till the middle of the 6th century AD, the glory of the Guptas had faded a century ago. So this how the Gupta administration came to an end. So children, in the next video, we are going to learn about the post-Gupta period.